You know, long before Sherlock Holmes was stalking the foggy streets of London, a completely different mystery had the whole world hooked. And this one wasn't set in London at all, but halfway across the world on the sun-scorched, gaslit avenues of Melbourne, Australia. And it all kicked off with a crime that seemed, well, utterly, fantastically impossible.
And that's the big question, right? Imagine this. A man hails a cab for a drunken stranger, hops out just a few blocks later, and then just vanishes into the night. Simple enough? But when the cab gets to where it's going, the passenger is dead. There was no struggle, no sound, just a corpse laced with chloroform. It is, for all intents and purposes, the perfect crime. So, let's set the scene. We're in marvelous Melbourne, a city just bursting at the seams with gold rush money, huge ambitions, and of course, some deep, dark shadows. And into this booming city rolls a single handsome cab carrying a dead man, which hands the local police a puzzle that seems to have no beginning and, well, certainly no end. And here's our guy, Detective Gorby. Now, he's not some eccentric genius with a violin and a drug habit. He's a practical, pretty down-to-earth policeman who's just been handed a case that completely defies logic. You can just feel his frustration in this quote. I mean, where do you even begin when your crime scene is a moving vehicle and your timeline is a complete and total mystery? So Gorby does what any good detective would do. He starts with the motive. But right away, the easy answers they don't fit. He figures a crime of passion is pretty unlikely. As he puts it, men in love don't go to such lengths in real life. They do in novels and plays. And it definitely wasn't a robbery. The victim had plenty of money still in his pockets. The why of it all is just as much of a ghost as the who. Now, here's what I think is so cool about this. Gorby's first move isn't to go scouring the city streets. He just uses simple, everyday logic. A man has disappeared. If this guy was a lodger, his landlady would probably start to worry, and eventually she'd put an ad in the paper. So Gorby just sits down with a big stack of newspapers and starts looking for a missing person. It's such a brilliant and, honestly, refreshingly normal piece of detective work. And what do you know? His hunch pays off. He finds his victim, a man named Oliver White. And by taking a look through White's rooms, we start to get a real picture of the guy. See, this wasn't just some random person. He was a man of leisure, a reader of Zola, someone who was into the sporting life and collected pictures of stage beauties. This was a man who lived a life that could have easily made him some enemies. And this is where the investigation is about to basically split the entire city in two. Because to solve this crime, we have to understand the world it happened in, a world of absolutely extreme wealth living right next door to desperate poverty. And this, right here, just shows you that contrast perfectly. On one side, you have these magnificent mansions in St. Kilda, home to the fabulously rich Wool Kings. But on the other, you've got the dark, oppressive slums of Little Bourke Street, a place filled with gambling dens and desperate people. And believe me, this investigation is going to drag us through both. Right at the very top of this society, we find a man named Mark Frettlby. I mean, this guy is the ultimate colonial success story. He's powerful, he's respected, and he's the father of the beautiful heiress, Madge. His world is all about lavish parties, impeccable manners, absolute social authority. You'd think a world like this would be a million miles away from a sordid murder in a cab. But then the novel just plunges us headfirst into that other world. A character has to go into the slums, and he sees the darkness and gloom of which made the lawyer shudder as he wondered how human beings could live in them. It's a world of pure darkness and squalor, where the city's glittering facade is just ripped away to show you the grim, desperate reality underneath. And then, the two worlds smash right into each other. The police follow the clues, but they don't lead to some shadowy figure in the slums. Oh no, they lead directly to the manicured lawns of St. Kilda. They lead to Brian Fitzgerald, a charming man of society, and the very man who's hoping to marry Mark Frettlby's daughter. All of a sudden, the stakes in this case are unimaginably high. So here's the crucial point, the thing you have to understand. We think we're watching a murder trial, a classic whodunit. But the murder itself, it's just the spark that lights the fuse. The real mystery here is a scandal, a secret buried so deep that it could bring down the most powerful family in the entire city. And the trial becomes an absolute sensation. I mean, everyone in Melbourne is completely obsessed. It's being gossiped about in high society drawing rooms and argued over in working-class pubs. The entire city is transfixed, and public opinion is pretty much unanimous. That handsome Irish gentleman, he's got to be guilty. But the public is dead wrong. The key to this whole thing, the real reason Oliver White is dead, has absolutely nothing to do with Brian Fitzgerald. It's a secret that belongs to the very last person anyone would ever suspect, the patriarch himself, Mark Frettlby.
Okay, let's break this down because this is the dark, beating heart of the whole story. Way back in his youth, Frettlby secretly married an actress. He later gets word that she's died, so he remarries and builds this whole respectable life. His daughter, Madge, becomes his entire world. But then, decades later, our victim, Oliver White, shows up holding the original marriage certificate, proving the first wife is still alive. This means Frettlby is a bigamist, and even worse, his beloved daughter is illegitimate, which was basically a social death sentence in the 19th century. That is the motive. So, who actually did the deed? It wasn't Frettlby trying to silence his blackmailer. The killer was White's own criminal associate, a guy named Roger Moreland. He figured out that the marriage certificate was a golden ticket, killed White for it right there in the cab, and was planning to take over the blackmail scheme all for himself. The murder was a crime of pure, brutal opportunism. So, with the fictional mystery all wrapped up, we're left with a very real one. How on earth did this novel, written by some unknown clerk in Melbourne, become one of the biggest literary sensations of the entire 19th century? How did it even manage to outsell the debut of Sherlock Holmes? Just look at that number, 750,000 copies. For that era, that is an absolutely staggering figure. From London to Calcutta to Toronto, people were just devouring this story. It was, without a shadow of a doubt, the best-selling crime novel of its time. So why was it such a massive hit? Well, it turns out it was the perfect recipe. First, it was set in a real, vibrant city, not some stuffy generic country estate. But more importantly, it tapped directly into the deepest anxieties people had. The fear that some secret from your past could just show up and destroy your reputation, your family, everything. The motive wasn't just money. It was this deep, human drama about shame and illegitimacy. And on top of all of that, it was just a fantastic, fast-paced page-turner. So its legacy is actually huge. The Mystery of a Hansom Cab really helped create a brand new template for crime fiction. It showed that the city itself, with all its stark contrasts and hidden corners, could be a central character. And it proved that the most compelling histories aren't about stolen jewels. They're about the secrets that rot away at the very heart of society. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. Okay, the hansom cabs are gone, and chloroform is probably not the murderer's weapon of choice anymore. But what about the fear of public shame? The massive gap between the rich and the poor? The secrets hidden behind respectable doors? Have those really changed at all?